Hey, what's going on? Luke here. State of Origin Game 1 is just around the corner, and with the game being next week, both sides have been named, the 1 to 17s even, and we're going to be talking about the New South Wales sides, and personally going to be talking about just the things that they got right, the things that they got wrong. I think the title of this video will be more so, the things that they got wrong, and that's probably more the case. Now, they obviously have got a lot of things right, and I want to touch on that to start off the video. Obviously, clicked on the video for the title, but the things that they did get right for me is obviously Trbojevic and Latrell. I had them in my side. I think the backline is pretty much spot on. We've gone back to the same side that got the job done in terms of the backline. I will say in terms of, if you want to include Luai in the backline, it's debatable, but in terms of the actual 1 to 5, that's more so what I'm talking about. You've got the Fox back in the side, which I think is great. Latrell returns, and so does Tom Trbojevic. Obviously, 2 of the 3 were out due to injury. Addo-Carr was dropped, and we can all agree that they definitely did not look better with Josh Addo-Carr out of the side. And if you've watched the Bulldogs games, not so much the Melbourne ones, because obviously Melbourne they're Melbourne. They're going to be good. But when you watch the Bulldogs, the difference in terms of all the players around him, in terms of just the team as a whole, Josh Addo-Carr makes such a difference. I don't know whether it's he verbalizes it or, just the actual ability. He gets in, he takes those shitty runs, but he also finishes off the tries. He adds a whole nother element in terms of, you can kick for him. You can literally just pass the ball to Latrell and then get it out to Josh Addo-Carr. And then, the things that Latrell can do, I'm assuming they're going to be linked up, but I mean, if it's not Latrell, it's Tom Trbojevic, so either or. But they're obviously he's going to attract a lot of defenders, and also who they're coming up against in terms of the centers that Queensland have picked. They're not exactly the most experienced or, out and out centers. So Latrell Mitchell can get the ball to Josh Addo-Carr with a lot of space in theory, and then obviously Addo-Carr, the hammer can catch him, but if the hammer's infield, he's not going to catch Addo-Carr with a start, you know what I mean? At least I don't think he will. But yeah, Addo-Carr got through the game with the Bulldogs unscathed, so I was pretty confident he was going to get picked, and I'm glad he has. A lot of talk about the centers in terms of Campbell Graham, and not just the centers, but the centers and the wingers in terms of how does Campbell Graham not get picked. And I said this in a video last week, I believe it was. I said realistically, when you look at Campbell Graham, right, fantastic player. He's in great form. There's a lot of. I feel like once there gets a bit of momentum, it starts becoming a thing of he has to be in the side, and then everyone gets outraged. But would you say he's a better center than Tom Trbojevic or Latrell Mitchell, a better player in general? I don't think so. I know there's a lot of talk about, not Latrell, but Tom Trbojevic is obviously, he's not playing up to full ability, but I just feel like if he's going to play for State of Origin, he's going to put all in. Otherwise, he'd rule himself out. We saw Jake get ruled out, and I'll touch on that later. But in terms of Campbell Graham, for me, he's the next in line for both the wing and the centers. Now, obviously, fantastic player, but I'm not, Josh Addo-Carr deserves to be there. Brian Toy obviously deserves to be there. And then the centers pick themselves, really, as long as they're fit. If Tom Trbojevic is 100% fit, this is not even a debate, in the slightest. And also, I don't think it's a debate now. A little bit of talk about Tedesco too, in terms of, Dylan Edwards. I think that's an absolute joke. James Tedesco has been playing in a side that has been super underwhelming. And even then, it's not like he's been bad. He just hasn't had the stats that he's had in previous years. But you best believe when he chucks on that sky blue jersey, this is going to be the old James Tedesco. I can promise you that. Now, getting on to the halves, this is where we get a little bit of a debate. For me, I had Nicho Hynes there, which meant as a result, I had Matt Burton on the bench. But Nicho Hynes, for me, you pick him in the starting side or you don't pick him. In terms of his versatility, he can play fullback or 5'8". New South Wales have an abundance of players who can shift the fullback if they need to. Nicho Hynes, in terms of that, Nicho Hynes doesn't really cover too much. Also, he's not a renowned, big hitter or a great defender or a big body, or even a runner of the ball. I don't understand him not being the 5'8". I mean, I do understand it in the sense that Jarome Luai has been around for a couple of years now, and he's the incumbent. They don't necessarily have a huge reason not to pick Jarome Luai. I mean, I know Nicho Hynes has been fantastic, but he's also been the number 7 in terms of a 5'8". Will the combination work? I guess we'll never know. But, I mean, they're picking him on the bench, which, insinuates that, if there's an injury, he's going to come in. So, as I said last week, so their logic is, combinations. But then if the combination doesn't work for him to start, why would it work for him to come off the bench? I don't understand that. But, yeah, like they seem to be all about combinations. You have a guy like Burton who literally came from the same system that they've literally picked this side around. Once again, Brad Fittler's gone for the all-out Penrith Panthers style that doesn't seem to work in State of Origin, and then sits back and wonders why things don't work. It's just, I don't know, he's gone for like the easy choices in my opinion, and that includes Coruscant at hooker. That's the next point I want to touch on. I mean, like with the 5'8" position, Jerome Moore, he's been there and done it really, like in terms of, grand finals and even State of Origin, he's won series and that sort of stuff. Wouldn't be my pick, but also I can understand him being picked. Coruscant was someone that I kind of just assumed Damien Cook was going to be the hooker. Been in fantastic form, has been the hooker for years. I know Coruscant overtook him last year, but Coruscant's gone to the Tigers and hasn't really done a hell of a lot. The Tigers got one win like last week that you thought, all right, this is the first grade side. Otherwise, it's just been a couple names like your Coruscants and Clemens and such in amongst a reserve grade side. That's generally like the truth, and I think Tigers fans will admit that. I think NRL fans will admit that. They've been absolutely woeful up until the last couple of weeks, and the fact that Coruscant's got picked, and then I feel like this team has definitely not been a side that's picked on form. I think that's been clear enough. You get into the Pengai Juniors and stuff, and it definitely shows you that it's not been picked on form. But for me, it's just strange to me that in the past there's always been talked about. I don't know if it's by like the actual like selectors or anything, but there's been a lot of talk about pick the guy who's in form, and then New South Wales have completely gone against that, and they've picked Coruscant over Damien Cook. And it's not like Damien Cook's inexperienced and never done it. He's literally been there so many times, and for me, Damien Cook has stepped up a lot of the occasions for New South Wales. Now, not all the time, but I mean, like, who really has? Would you say Coruscant played fantastic last year? I don't think so. Now, obviously, they've gone for the Penrith connection. He's not at Penrith anymore. He hasn't played with them for quite a while. So there's that element. And like I said, it's State of Origin, not playing for Penrith. It's refs completely different. Just the game is completely different. So you can't just pick Penrith guys and just hope that they play like Penrith, especially when you're picking bits and pieces of the side. I personally would have went for Damien Cook. Again, the same with like the Nico Hines thing. I understand Coruscant getting picked because it really is down to Api Coruscant and Damien Cook. And obviously they've gone for Coruscant, but just for me, I would have went Damien Cook. I wouldn't even, I suppose you could sort of talk about maybe off the bench, but I just straight up would have went Damien Cook, number 9, done deal. Damien Cook, you can argue, is in like career best form at the moment. So, yeah, it's funny that they've really gone against the form, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but also at the same time, it kind of does. I don't really know how to explain that. But, I mean, moving on to like the front row, Payne Haas picks himself. Obviously, I've talked about Coruscant. Then we get to the big controversial one. I mean, there's a lot of contentious calls. Some I agree with, some I don't. The main one that I do agree with, I don't even know if like fans are blowing up. I'm a Bulldog supporter, right? This guy is dead set lucky to be in the Bulldog side some weeks. Some weeks you watch him and you think, I can't wait for him to leave. I dead set can't. Then you get weeks like last week where he was pretty good, led from the front. This is sort of player Pengai Jr. is. He's always been that. From his days at the Broncos, Penrith didn't really get too much of an opportunity to do that, but he's gone to the Bulldogs and definitely has not set the world on fire. He's been quite lackluster. And for me, him getting picked just represents the fact that they are really not going on form. Like, if there was ever some sort of debate of like, oh, well, they've picked a couple players, but, they've been guys who have been there. They have quite literally picked a guy who's out of form. There's no way you can tell me Tevita Pengai Jr., and I'm a Bulldog supporter, there's no way you can tell me that Tevita Pengai Jr. is in any sort of form. He played okay last week. Other than that, he's been throwing random willy-nilly offloads that have been leading to intercepts. He's the type of guy who, at club level, he's like this. State of Origin level, definitely capable of this. He definitely can lose you a game as much as he can win you a game. And I feel like him winning a game isn't going to happen in State of Origin, but he definitely can lose you a game. And you add in all the other players as well. I really don't think we've got a great mix in this side. And I know a lot of the forwards were injured, but you look at the 18th man. I mean, Stefano is there. Angus Crichton was another one who was in the squad who didn't get picked. I wouldn't have went Stefano, but you got a guy like Clemmo who's been there and done it. You've also got Safidi and stuff. I personally wouldn't have picked Safidi, but you've got guys who have been there before and played. I figure Ken McGillard probably would have got picked if he didn't get injured, but looking at the rest of the back line, they've gone for Tyson Frizzell and Hudson Young. So a complete overhaul of the back row that they had last year. Cameron Murray onto the bench. Cameron Murray coming off the bench. It's not a bad option in the sense that he can play 13, can play back row. But, I mean, Tyson Frizell, I've always thought that Tyson Frizell was quite unlucky to lose the spot. I mean, they're picking like Tarek Sims over him, which is just, it's crazy to me. I know Tarek played quite good for New South Wales, but Tyson Frizell was always a standout for the blue side. For me, he was one of the first picks. Then he got injured and missed it, and then that was kind of it. There was no talk of him getting back. Obviously, like all of a sudden, there was literally no talk of Tyson Frizell sort of being in the mix, and then he gets picked. Hudson Young was someone that I picked and was someone that was sort of talked about pretty highly. I think we all just kind of assumed that for the last couple of years, they've gone with Cameron Murray in the second row starting, so you would think they would do it again. I don't know if like Jake Trbojevic being out plays any sort of role in that or what they're going to do, but yeah, they've opted for a complete overhaul of the back row. And to me, like the back row has never been a position that has been like a make or break for the Blues and lost the game. And I think even for Queensland, they made some changes to the back row as well. But I mean, at least with Tyson Frizell, we know what we're going to get. We know we're going to get a hard worker. He runs hard. The effort play is definitely going to be there, and he knows what Origin is about. And Hudson Young, I think, is obviously like the future of New South Wales, future of Australia. He's sort of been talked up for quite some time now, and he's been performing on the field pretty consistently. So I'm happy with him now. Azario picked himself. Don't really need to talk about him too much. But it gets to the bench with Junior Paulo there. You got Cameron Murray, who I've touched on, Liam Martin, and Nicho Hynes. Now, Liam Martin is a guy, I wouldn't be surprised if Liam Martin ends up starting. They do a few switches here and there in terms of the run-on side. Junior Paulo maybe coming into the starting side. But why you would go to Tevita Pangai Jr., I feel like he is another one that could come off the bench because he is sort of fairly versatile. Back row, lock, prop, you can chuck him in there. Whereas, a Junior Paulo is just an out-and-out prop. Cameron Murray, quite versatile. Liam Martin, pretty versatile. Then you got Nicho Hynes. Yeah, I don't know. I've already talked about that. But, yeah, Liam Martin, a couple of weeks ago, I would have said, I think last week, I said I wouldn't have picked him purely because he hasn't really played much footy. So, again, goes on the whole, they're going with the Penrith system, but also they're not picking any players who are in, great form. And, you can't say Liam Martin's been in form. So, I don't know. It's like a bit of a mixed bag this side. I don't hate the side, but I don't particularly like it. I'm probably more sort of going the way I don't particularly like this side. There's a lot of elements that I would have picked myself, like the back line, that sort of stuff. But, you added Nicho Hynes, would have had him starting, would have had Damien Cook. Back row would have been a little bit different. Front row, definitely a little bit different. And then, the bench, Matt Burton and such. It's not the side I would have picked or anything close to being the side I would have picked, but hey, I'm not the selector. But at the same time, Brad Fielder hasn't exactly got the results, so maybe he doesn't even know either. I mean, the New South Wales side is kind of renowned for picking like the worst possible side out of all the people available, so they come out and get towed up, I won't be surprised. But I mean, the Queensland side, even that, like I don't think that's a particularly good Queensland side considering the side that they could have picked for me, but like Jake Trbojevic, add him into the side, obviously is a lot better. The back line is there. So it's definitely a team that can win the game. But, it's just not the side I would have went for. But, guys, let me know in the comment section below. What's the side you would have went for? Do you like the side that Freddie's picked? And the selectors, I should say. Do you like it? Do you agree with some of the selections? Is there anyone that you can't understand why they're in the side? I'm looking at guys like Pangai Jr. Just let me know in the comment section below. Anyways, I'm going to wrap things up here. Hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did, make sure you go ahead and smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Every like really, really helps out the channel. It helps grow the channel massively. And in terms of growing the channel, obviously helps out me more. So if you want to help out me, go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, especially if you haven't already, on the road to 15,000 subscribers. In terms of helping the channel, go ahead and become a member. You're seeing on the screen right now, here are all the members currently. We have quite a few, a lot of familiar faces, a lot of recurring faces as well, or recurring names, I should say. Also, you got the super chatters. Everything helps out massively. And like I said, in terms of helping out the channel, if you can help out monetarily, that's absolutely fantastic. Also, I want to point out, if you want to follow me on social media, it's on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke on YT. Go ahead and give me a follow, give me an ad. And look, that's where I'm going to wrap things up. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more content on the channel, in particular with State of Origin being around. So go ahead, stay tuned for that. And I'll see you on the next one. See yous.